Well, it's the year so many people have dreaded, so many people have regretted, and so many people have also enjoyed 2020. What is your stand for the year 2020? Well, 2020 was an eventful year for Nigerians, from the first index case of coronavirus to the lockdown that followed, and the myriad of security and economic challenges that faced the nation, as well as the end SARS protest. Now, 2020 can be said to be the year of the pandemic, lockdowns, protests, security, and economic challenges for many Nigerians. Welcome to today's edition of Youth Assembly. My name is Sylvia Ishebe. Now, how did these events affect the lives of Nigerians in the year 2020? That is a question we intend to answer today. And what should Nigerians expect going forward or going into 2021? I have with me today Mr. Moshood Issa, who is a communication expert and a credible election advocate. Welcome, Mr. Moshood.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you once again for having me.
All right. And I have also a philanthropist in the house, Wanda Ebe. Welcome, Wanda. I'm feeling
Thank
like I'm
you.
going to get a lot of things today from you.
Hopefully.
Yes, and I trust Nigerians also. You'll get a lot from today's discussion as we look at the events that shaped 2020 for Nigerians. Now, looking at the year 2020, how would you describe it, Mr. Moshood, for you?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Again, I'll just use the word it's a complete package, really, really. Well, though it came with a lot of hype, like people would say. At the end of 2019, we're like, oh, 2020 will be this. And there's always been this vision 2020, things will get
Yes.
better. The economy will be one of the best top 20 in the world and all that. And then the our budget again, it was reshaped so that it will meet up with the January to December timeline rather than the May to May timeline we usually have. So I think there were a lot of plans, but without plans for unforeseen contingency, unfortunately. So it came with a lot of unforeseen contingencies, and then that's we had to now start preparing for working on the go spontaneously, unfortunately. So to me, it's a roller coaster year. It's a complete package. It came with a lot of negatives, but again, we shouldn't ignore the positives it came with. Actually, the fact that it came with some negatives mean there are some new innovations that we had to actually work with and adapt with, and which has actually come to stay. Like using this platform, for instance, a lot of people now are now going virtual, meaning you can save a lot of time and energy doing things virtually rather than trying to meet physically. So, like I said, it has come with its negatives, but of course, it ensured that there are a lot of innovations, and unfortunately, it actually affected virtually all sectors of of endeavor, really.
Mm.
Education, security, health, sports, but all sector. Unfortunately, health is a key issue here, and it has affected virtually all facets of endeavor. But it's a roller coaster year, and we're glad we are here to reflect on it, and of course, it provides also a lot of opportunities going into the new year.
Yes, reflection here, reflection time for us as we look back at what's transpired in 2020. Over to you, Wanda. Well, we started with the coronavirus pandemic. 2020 was indeed the year of the pandemic. Somebody actually told me we're living the year of the pandemic into the year of the vaccines, which is 2021. But how did you feel, or what went through your mind when the first case was announced in Nigeria on the 27th of
Well,
February 20?
yeah. I had a lot of mixed feelings because Nigeria is the developing country, and I was worried. I was worried that if the pandemic hit us, like maybe half Nigerian citizens will not make it because our healthcare system is crap. So it just left me in fear, And because from all the videos that I saw from, in developed countries, I saw how they responded to COVID-19. I saw how they struggled, they did everything possible, even the best facilities, to save citizens. And I just imagine that happened in Nigeria. I don't know what would have happened. Like half of everybody would have died if the pandemic hit us that way. So for me, it was a call. It was a call, to the government, to leadership, to do more, on social amenities. Like I always say that. Can you hear me?
Yes, this is better. Go ahead.
Okay. I always say that I look forward to a leadership who truly cares for citizens of Nigeria, because it looks like a lot of times we're distracted with so many other things, corruption and all of that, but Nigerians are truly suffering. So for me, it was going to be a very tough year, but we just keep fighting. I also see that Nigerians are very, very resilient people, and in the midst of all of this, I could see that we have a very strong spirit, and we're not people who just want to give up because things are not working out the way we expect them to. So it's been a tough year, and I've also seen a lot of strength in Nigerian youth, and
Yeah.
not depending on the government for any support, because we didn't even get it. So many people were celebrating the fact that we're receiving donations from international communities, to support the country, the poor people, entire citizens and all of that. But that did not happen. But Nigerians fought. We still tried, even in the midst of lockdown. We didn't even experience as much suicide, as other countries who have all these benefits were experiencing. So yeah, it's a good year, and I see that a lot of youth have also looked within themselves, reflected within themselves, like you said, to see how they can stand for themselves and push themselves going forward.
Okay, you mentioned fear. Starting the year, this was February 27th. I can remember where I was and the panic that, or the fear that gripped me and the panic that ensued, because we had to get masks, we had to run around and think that the coming of coronavirus into Nigeria was the end of it. Was just, there were predictions about people in Africa. You just see people dying, just falling on the streets and
Right,
just dying, dead
right,
bodies on the
right.
streets. But that is not the case in Africa,
Yes,
in Nigeria so far. Nigeria got a lot of accolades for detecting the first case on time, and people thought the country had it under control until the virus started to spread. Now, how did it
yes.
all go wrong? How can Nigeria get it right in containing the spread of the virus, especially now that the country is experiencing a second wave? Let's hear from you. Okay, I have this a journalist here, Adelani Adepewa. Welcome, Mr. Adelani.
Thank you.
So I presume you heard all I said.
Yes.
Okay, take it from here. How do you think Nigeria can help, what can it do now to curtail the spread of the virus, even as we witness a second wave?
Yeah, the key thing in this instance is the need for everybody to follow the protocols as directed. This is very key because a lot of people till now still don't believe there's anything called coronavirus. When you go to the market, when you go to stores, people still carry on as if everything is all right. So I believe people need more sensitization. People need to take responsibility. People need to be careful. They need to wear their face masks, use their sanitizers, and avoid risky behaviors. I think that is one thing we can only bank on, because for now there's no cure for the virus, and even the vaccines may not. It's not something that is immediately available, and it takes some time before it will get around. Apart from the financial impact, from the financial cost, which is going to be high. So I think the best thing is for everybody to be cautious and to follow the protocols as stipulated for now.
Okay, Mr. Bashir.
Yeah, I quite agree with my colleague, Mr. Adelani. Unfortunately, we are a nation that doesn't necessarily abide by rules and regulation, and unfortunately, again, it's usually a top-down approach. When we see those that are making the laws not abiding by such laws, people begin to wonder why should they actually abide by this. That's why this doubts usually come in if this virus actually exists, because those that are making these laws, people used to say uh laws in Nigeria are meant for the poor or something, but it's quite unfortunate actually. So, but this is our situation. It is what it is. The virus is real. People need to abide by the rules and regulations, and it has to be a top-down approach. There are many instances where, sorry to say, our president was viewed without even using the face mask, and people in the position of authorities um, hosting weddings and all that, even in the midst of the pandemic. So people that set these rules and regulations have to lead by example. It's not just about coming to say, "Hey, a governor has it, he's in isolation." It's not enough. People would even have their doubts, saying it means this same governor didn't actually abide by these rules and regulations. That's why he contracted it. So leadership have to lead by example. At the moment, I don't think the nation can afford another lockdown. So unfortunately, the 3 month lockdown we had was really, really, really terrible for Nigerians, to the extent that immediately after the lockdown, the only the only thing the government deemed fit was to raise the price of petrol, which means more hardship for the people. So the last lockdown has shown to us that Nigeria cannot afford even a week lockdown. So best is to abide by all the rules and regulations, social distancing, use your face masks, and then it has to be, leadership has to actually lead by example, show that this is real, and also abide by these rules and regulation.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but we see also that some of those guidelines are being more like a partial lockdown happening right now, with only 50 people in attendance if you're having an event. But maybe not a total lockdown, but maybe partial. But speaking about lockdown, to curtail the spread of the virus, in March, the federal government imposed the lockdown in Lagos, which was and is still the epicenter of the virus. Now, Abuja and Ogun states were also locked down, and other states followed. Now, a lot of things happened during this time. People lost their means of livelihood. People lost their jobs. People were involved in domestic violence. It increased. And also, the sharing of palliatives was somewhat controversial for many reasons. Now, Wanda, this is your field, and I have seen your work during the lockdown, what you did for so many people. But what lessons do you think Nigerians can learn from everything that went down during the lockdown?
I think that Nigerians were really, really disappointed because the pandemic came as a shock to everyone, and it affected
Yes.
everybody too. And the truth is that Nigerians have lost trust in leadership, and but they were thinking that this period, at least, things will be better, and it's a pandemic that affected everyone, the whole world entirely. So we had expectations, you know, from support and all of that. But obviously, we didn't get the support that we wanted from the government. So I just want Nigerian youth to do much more, to also look into agriculture. I mean, there's a lot of skill acquisition going on. So many young people are going into, you know, to businesses and all of that, learning skills. But I want to encourage more Nigerians to engage in agricultural, you know, um, agriculture generally, because it's seen like farming or fishing or any other agricultural activity is meant for village people. But the truth is that if more Nigerian youth engage in agricultural activities, we will not be looking for food. We will not have to depend on the government for palliative. We will not have to invade or boggle warehouses because we needed food to eat. It would just, at least that basic need could have been met by so many people. And I know that the fuel hike and all of that has affected a lot of things. But if we had our own farms, if I had my farm, for example, I think I would have just strolled to the farm and just looked for one or two things that would keep
Yes,
me for
because
the period.
yes.
So
Food is something people won't get tired of. People need food every day to survive.
exactly, exactly, exactly. And
But
then
in terms of domestic violence, we saw the increase of the numbers because of the
yes,
lockdown. So yes, what can we take out of this? Is it a lockdown that caused this to, or was it always there, but the lockdown just exposed it?
it's been there. It's always been there. A lot of advocacies, a lot of campaigns have been going on over the years about gender-based violence, domestic violence, and all of that. So, but during the lockdown, it seemed as if there was an increase, and maybe there's really an increase because a lot of couples were forced to live together, to stay together, for longer hours. So a lot of secrets are also exposed. Our culture, polygamy is allowed in quotes. So definitely there will be a lot of conflict. Polygamy is a part of Nigerians. It's very, very normal. It's not seen when a man is cheating on his woman. It's not a big deal. It's like it's normal. But when a woman does it, it's a big deal. So definitely there's going to be friction when two people have to be together 24 hours. The men do not have access to all the plenty women that they have, the side chicks, they didn't have access to them, and the side chicks were also complaining, and then, I mean, it brought about exposing a lot of
Yeah.
secrets, and that's why definitely there'll be heated arguments and fights and all of those violence that went on during the lockdown. So, yes, it was increased. But I also think that it will be very, very good if we have mental health facilities, so that a lot of these issues can be tackled. And there'll be counseling for married people, not just married people. There'll be anger management sessions for almost everyone, because Nigeria is a difficult country to live in. There's so much hardship, and so a lot of people tend to be very aggressive, you know, on even on a normal day. So we should try to have mental health facilities that can really help people, with anger management and relating with other people, communication and all of that. It's going to go a long way to curb violence in our society.
All right. If you just tuned in or you're just joining us, it is Youth Assembly. We are looking at the events that shaped 2020 for Nigerians. We'd like to get your reaction also. You can tell us what events shaped 2020 for you. Is it a pandemic? Is it the recession? Is it the NSAS protests? What is it exactly? Or is it even entertainment? We would like to hear from you. So now I totally agree with Mr. Moshood when he said Nigerians can afford another lockdown. And one of the reasons, from what you said, Wanda, is the side chicks issue. So people don't have to experience domestic violence anymore. But over to you, Mr. Moshood. Before we get to Mr. Delany, NSAS protests also happened. In October, the nation also witnessed what some people call the mother of all protests in a long time with the NSAS protest. Now, the protest was triggered by the death of a young man in Delta State in the custody of the police and other cases of judicial killings by the now disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Why do you think the protest was such a success before it was hijacked by hoodlums?
So the NSAS protest is, I think, is an accumulation of a whole lot of things. First, from the police angle, from the extrajudicial killing, the human rights violation. It didn't start this year. It didn't start last year. It didn't start few years ago. It's been with us for some time. So it's been an accumulated frustration, which made people let out their aggression really. And I would always also link it to the fact that a lot of people lost their means of livelihood during the lockdown. So as soon as the lockdown was done and people were trying to get themselves, you increase the price of petrol, VAT was increased. People were not finding it funny. And then this extrajudicial killing for people that are just struggling to make means of livelihood. And then boom, for no reason, you attacked them. And then in recent times, there has not been justice for these victims or for their families and all that. So this made people trooped out. I think it is an organic protest where
Mm.
people felt the same impact virtually all over the country. It's like a unified protest where people already accumulated this frustration, and it just needed a little trigger to put it out. And that's what made this protest successful, because people are fighting for the same cause. People came out to, and the demand was also unified. There was a 5 for 5 where people were demanding, first of
Yes.
all, the disbandment of the special anti-robbery squad, justice for family of these victims, and then of course for those accused officers also, they should also get prosecuted when they need arise. And of course, there's this ongoing judicial panel of inquiry. To a reasonable extent, actually, uh, government reacted to the demands of these people. But again, there is deficit of trust between the people and the government. There have been a lot of judicial panels in previous times. There is the Zaki Biam in Benue incident. There was a judicial panel. There was no implementation. There's the incident in Kaduna between the Shiites and the military. There was a judicial panel. It exposed a lot of things, but there was no implementation. So this actually affected the trust people have in the government. So even after disbandment, again, they disbanded the SARS, but again, this wasn't the first time they disbanded SARS. Again, issue of trust between the citizen and the government. The protests continued. It was unified. The reasons were obvious. The demands were unified, and then people came out for similar reasons. And also show how much people can actually organize, try as much as possible not to violate any laws while protesting and all that. So this is why it was a success, because there was accountability too. There were different sectors. There were some that are providing medical support, and some sectors that are providing legal support, security, and all that. So it's a microcosm of what Nigeria should be, the kind of accountability that we should expect from our leaders and the entire citizens.
All
So
right.
that's
You
why
say
this is
it
why I think
was
it's
the
a
year,
success.
or 2020 is the year for the youths, or the awakening of the youths, Nigerian youths.
Yeah, to a reasonable extent, yeah. I think youths actually reactivated their citizenship, demanded justice, demanded accountability. Yeah, to a large extent, the youth have been accused
Correct.
of being docile before, but this is a sign that they have reactivated their citizenship. At some point, people were even calling for commencement of voter registration, so that those that were not participating before, they are ready to participate. It was like the next election should just come the very next day, and
Yes, but
they'll
we
come
have
out.
till
And
2023 to
yeah, we have to
to
2023. But
get the
before
next
then,
election.
there's 2021 and 2022 for people to prepare themselves, get
Mm.
registered, as in get enough information about voter education, election itself, what it means, and all that. And anyone that's ready to contest at that in 2023 should actually start planning from now. So NSAS was a springboard, or is expected to be a springboard for young people to actually participate in politics, actually know be part and parcel of the process, and not just should not be a temporary thing, should be what they will take towards 2023, and vote for a government they can actually trust.
All right, we'll delve into the elections shortly, but let me hear from you, Mr. Adelani. What do you think the organizers and the government should have done differently to forestall the breakdown of law and order during the protests? I mean, they started with ending SARS, but as the protests went on, people said, you said demanding more than just ending SARS. What should they have done differently, the organizers and government?
Yeah, I believe the organizers actually had they were really united, they were organic, and the protest was well organized. And one could see it from the fact that throughout the whole process before it was hijacked, there was no violence, they took care of themselves, and there was no criminality of whatsoever. The government also responded well initially by um, by taking up the challenge. They some of the demands that were made, they spoke to them and set up. The IG responded, and then you find that some of the, by disbanding the SARS and other issues that were raised were also followed through. But it was towards the end that they allowed miscreants to take over. I believe it was an opportunity that was missed. The government could have used this opportunity of the protest to actually reconnect to the youth. And the problem I see there was that the organizers too also failed to take advantage of that unity of purpose to demand more from the government. Because, like somebody said, that even if you organize, if you protest, your protest must end at the negotiation table. But because the protesters had no leadership, so to say, there was nobody to negotiate with. And this had to do with the fact that they felt if they nominated some people, there might be a breach of trust. There are always this belief that when some people go in to discuss with the government, they could be compromised, they could be settled, and at the end of the day, nothing will be achieved. I think that was the missing point, because every organization must have a head. So if the organizers had maybe selected some prominent Nigerians, some people that they have confidence in, 3, 4, 5 persons, and say, okay, you represent us at the negotiation table, and these are what we want from the government, it would have been a roaring success. But because there was no group to handle that aspect, they lost the momentum. Then from the government allowed the miscreants to take over the protest, and at the end of the day, the whole thing was messed up. And I believe from now henceforth, the lesson we could learn from this is the fact that for a long time, the youth have been a footnote to the political narrative in the country. And now it's time for them to be active participants. Because instead of just complaining and talking, it's time for them to organize and bring up credible candidates. When you look at the elections, 90% of the people that vote are youth, because they are the one that have the energy, they are the one that go for campaigns and do all kind of thing. So now that the situation has come to this level, then what we need to do is for you to look for credible candidates, credible aspirants, people that they know they can trust, and set them there to effect the kind of impact they want. So it's not just about talking and grumbling and making threats. It's about you have to be part of the solution. It's easy to complain, but for you to really have solution, for you to make progress, you have to be part of the solution. You have to be
Being part
involved.
of the solution. Okay.
And
But speaking about elections, in the political scene, gubernatorial elections were held in Bayelsa, Edo, and other states. And the outcome of the keenly contested Edo election was a highlight for 2020. Now, the election was largely peaceful, free, and fair, contrary to the expectations of many in the build-up of the election. Now, why do you think, over to you, Mr. Moshood, why do you think the elections went the way it did, contrary to the expectation that it would be marred with violence, since it's what is usually obtainable in some parts of Nigeria?
So, thank you once again. So, I think there is, of course, not that there are expectations that there will be violence, but there are early warning signals. There are
Okay.
civil society that actually made effort to observe the pre-election environment, and based on what they saw, they created this early warning signs that if actions are not being taken, this election will be marred by violence. And for every early warning signals, there is a stakeholder that is involved that should take certain action. Yaga Africa, for instance, did a pre-election observation survey. They also did pre-election observation by sending people around to observe the process, to observe the pre-election environment and possible triggers of violence. And then again, one thing that also contributed to the peaceful election in Edo was this. There was a signing of peace accord and the involvement of Oba of Benin in the whole process. I remember the Oba of Benin inviting the major candidate to his palace, telling them that whoever wins this election, Edo State will still remain. Both of you are citizens of Edo, and you must know that Edo State will remain even after this. And then I think the citizens also were trying to make a statement. We're trying to make a statement that beyond this, they can take a decision by themselves. I don't want to go into the issue of godfatherism and all that, but the
Yes.
trajectory that played the defection of the governor to another party due to certain issues and all
That
that.
was another
Like,
highlight for
yeah,
2021, the
that
defection
was,
that happened.
yeah. So it was
Yes.
attributed to the issue of godfatherism, and it was believed that the citizens want to make a statement that they can make a decision on their own rather than following a godfather or something. So that also contributed. But again, the fact that those in the National Peace Committee, Cardinal Onaikon, former president, former military head of state, General Abdusalam Abubakar, are very important personalities and highly respected. Also contributed to the peaceful election in Edo. And of course, the Oba of Benin is highly respected, and the fact that he invited the people, the major contestants to his palace, warned them against violence, and then they in turn went back to warn their supporters against violence. That also contributes hugely. But again, if probably if a governor is if if he has a large support of the citizens, there's tendency that people will come out to vote peacefully, even though, of course, there's always issue of a low voter turnout, unfortunately. But we're glad that early warning systems created by CSOs and other organizations was ensured that stakeholder security took the necessary actions to curtail violence in Edo State.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. We also have joining us now Barrister Victor Giwa, who is a lawyer. Welcome, Barrister. Good to have you.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes. Good morning. Okay, so we have a comment here. Iyomoke just says the election in Bayelsa was a highlight for me. Speaking about what were highlights for 2020, what events shaped 2020 for you? We'd like you to drop your comments and tell us what events in 2020 actually shaped the year for you. So, Barrister, we'd like you to answer now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yes, and political party defections. 2020 was also a year of defections and political realignments. Notable among them is the defection of the governor of Ebonyi State Governor Dave Omahi, formerly of PDP, to APC. Do you think we should expect more defections in 2021? And how do you think the defections will shape the race for 2023 elections? Hello, Barrister. Okay, Mr. Adelani, I think he'll take it from here. I don't know what is wrong with his network. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Adelani.
Okay. Well, I believe 2023 will be very interesting, and we can see the sign from now with the defections and the crises plaguing both PDP and the APC, and Nigerians are watching what's going to happen. Apart from that, we also see what has been playing out about the expected contest by former Lagos State Governor Bola Tinubu. Already, there are reports that he's already putting in place measures to contest. He has set up a campaign office in Abuja. The posters are up and running everywhere. Some of members of his political structure have also been sensitizing the public. So there have been a lot of back and forth on whether there should be zoning or there should not be zoning. And of course, we saw the Southeast too gearing up, saying it is their turn to produce the next president. So definitely 2023 will be very, very interesting because of all these reports and the alignment of forces and things that are shaping the system today.
Okay. There was also the issue of insecurity in 2020. The nation faced a lot of security challenges, and particularly in the north, armed banditry, Boko Haram attacks, and kidnapping have become the order of the day in Nigeria in 2020. Now, the kidnapping of the Kankara boys and the killings of rice farmers in Zambari were some highlights in this 2020. Now, how can the country get it right with security to ensure that insecurity reduces in 2021? Barrister, can you hear me now? So, Mr. Delani, how can the government get it right in terms of security in Nigeria?
Yeah, that is a very important issue because without security, nothing else can work. You can't be talking about politics, you can't be talking about economy. Everything rests on security. And one way we could really get things right is to empower the security architecture. Our security architecture is overstretched and incapable of handling the present bloodshed and violence across the country. We know that the police, we don't have enough of them. I think the current figure of the policemen in Nigeria, they are less than 400,000, and about 150,000 of them or more are guarding VIPs, governors, and politicians. So you see that our streets are not safe. 2 days ago, the governor of Oyo State raised the alarm about the plan by some bandits from Mali to invade Nigeria. Already, if you go to our forest reserve, it is dotted with bandit camp, kidnappers. You can only travel from here, from Abuja to Kaduna without being kidnapped. Kidnapping is happening every day. Even in Abuja, around the Peggy, Kuje area, there's no week they don't kidnap people there. The other day, they kidnapped almost like 10 persons who are working with the Kuje area council. That should tell you that we are really in a dire situation. So we need to empower the security system. We need to train our men. We need to equip them. And of course, we need to also look at their welfare because when they are well taken care of, they will put their heart and their soul in their jobs. So that is very, very key for 2023.
All right, Mr. Moshood, in terms of security, how do you think the country can get it right and reduce insecurity in 2021?
I'll try to be as frank as possible. And there has been questions around what the service chiefs are still doing right now. There have been calls from different quarters to do away with the service chiefs. First, not just because of the fact that they are due for retirement, but again, there has been no positive there has been questions around their competence really and the impact. Even the president has said that they are trying, but their effort is not good enough. Unfortunately, we are still keeping these service chiefs. It means there are some things that probably Nigerians don't know. It's either those service chiefs are not giving what they need or what they need, or they're actually giving what they need and it's probably not going to the right channels. So if something is not working, the first thing to do is try and fix it. These service chiefs have been with us since 2015, and then there have been a lot of questions around them, especially from 2019 to 2020. If something is not working, try and fix it. If service chiefs are the problem, then try and change the service chiefs. It's also stalling the elevation of other military chiefs that are below them. If you don't retire those that are due for retirement, then you cannot elevate those that are due for elevation. And then we need to start asking questions regarding accountability. There's a huge budget that goes to security every year. We need accountability for that. People need to start asking questions. What does that money go for? I, I remember the Minister of Communication saying the foreign countries are not providing them support, giving them, selling weapons to them and all that. That has been the challenge that the previous administration also told us, unfortunately. But there's been a lot of budget for this. And then there has been questions around state policing and all that. There has been debates around that. There's a Amotekun in Southwest, and there's also controversy around them. So we need to actually go back to the drawing board and be sure what we actually need for our security, what they actually need. Of course, there's question around welfare. Are they getting the desired support that they need from the country? The budget for for security, where is it going to? Is it ending up in Abuja, or is going to where it is needed in the southeast? There is always questions, controversy around if this security men are getting the desired welfare. And then there was also an issue around paying of ransom. For you
for
to pay
kidnap.
ransom, yeah, for kidnappers, paying ransom, negotiating with kidnappers. We see governors negotiating with kidnappers, and then the government come out to tell us that, oh, we just negotiated and there was no ransom paid. Are you trying to tell us that the bandit just they just uh they just decide to be good overnight or something?
well,
So
well,
if you are paying ransom to release kidnapped people, you are indirectly empowering those bandits. Not just those bandits alone, you are indirectly telling other people that, hey, this is a huge business. If you successfully kidnap someone, they will pay you ransom. And that's how this is spreading from the northeast to the northwest to even Abuja, like my colleague said, and some part of north central. You can't travel from here to Lokoja, for instance, Abuja to Lokoja
even
without,
to Kaduna here,
yeah.
people come.
So there are a
Yeah.
lot of questions about competency
Well,
of the security themselves. For instance,
hmm.
the Kankara boys incident. The governor came out to say, oh, Miyetti Allah actually negotiated on our behalf and these boys were released. And the army came out to say, no, we rescued these kids. Unfortunately, you rescued these kids. There was no a single arrest of any kidnapper. So there's a lot of things Nigerians don't know, or uh, uh, this government are not telling us, are not being transparent about the security. And unfortunately, this is spreading wider. And these incidents are just the ones that made the news. Unfortunately, there are a lot of security issues that didn't even make the news. So we need to first of all call for accountability, set targets for these security heads, IG, who is the NSA for crying out loud? What has he been doing? We should ask questions, set target for these people, and then if they don't meet up with the target, then you have to you have to take the hit the sledgehammer on them.
Well, it
You
looks
have to take
like
difficult decisions, really.
the year Nigerian hasn't enjoyed any good out of 2020. With all of the things we've mentioned, we've said even economic recession, insecurity, and SARS came with its own violence. So many of them. But on a lighter note, we also saw the price of onion becoming a hot topic in 2020 as the price went up. It became gold. Well, so how did you cope with not having onions readily available? Let me ask the woman here, Wanda.
I also cook too, by the way.
Oh yes, but you've spoken for
It
so
was very,
long,
very
so give her
frustrating.
the mic.
It was so frustrating not to be able to afford onions, you know. And I'll still go back to my comment earlier. If a lot of people were engaged in agricultural activities, we won't have to depend on a particular part of the country to supply onions to us for it to become gold. So if, for example, I had an onion farm in Benue, you know, or someone else had in Ogun State, you know, Niger, just everywhere across the country, if we try to have those farms, we won't have to wait for people who are hoarding, you know, and deciding what to happen. But it was frustrating not to be able to afford onions. You go to the market and they tell you that you cannot buy onion 200 naira. What? There's no onion for 200 naira. So, and I'm like, so how are we going to survive? What is this? You know, so it wasn't funny. It
For the
wasn't
first
funny.
time, I think onion. I was like onion, ha,
Yeah,
onion. They were even
right.
selling like 100 naira. Oh my god, one tiny one like that.
You will
But
get.
we saw recession happen. Would you say it was also part of it? Nigeria experienced recession this December. You know, for the second time in 5 years, we went into recession. How do you think the recession is affecting the lives of Nigerians, Mr. Delany?
Of course, things have been very, very tight. Apart from that, the inflation has been crazy. So now, if you were earning like $100 before, now your purchasing power has probably reduced to $60 or $70. So it has been coupled with the fact that the coupled with the consequences of the NSAS protest, where so many small businesses were destroyed or shut down, the effect is unimaginable.
But how can we exit from the recession on time? At least we're going into the next year. So is it looking like we can exit next year?
Yes, it's possible.
Uh, well,
What economists recommend for recession, or this, the antidote to recession is usually more productivity and spending. You can
okay.
spend your way because the more money you have in the system, the more productive you are, the faster the economy will revive and the earlier you can get out of it. And I believe the government knows this. That's why abroad, when you have such issues, the government normally encourage, they normally support businesses, either with grants, with loans, and things like that, so that they don't lay off people, so that they can continue to produce and provide support to the citizens and to enable the economy to turn around faster.
Mm. Even the entertainment industry wasn't left out all of the from all of the bad things that happened in 2020. We saw the arrest of yes, of Thames in Uganda, and also the singer Omale. They were arrested in the Uganda, and this actually shaped entertainment industry in 2020. It's been a challenging year for them. Naira Marley was also prosecuted for violating the protocols at the drive-by concert in Abuja. What impact do you think these arrests would have on organizations of shows during the pandemic going forward, going into 2021? Who do I ask now? Who is into entertainment? Maybe Moshood. Go ahead.
Okay, nice one. Again, the arrest of Omale and Thames in Uganda also goes back to tell us the gap in diplomatic relationship between Nigeria and Uganda. We claim to be big brother Africa and all that, but unfortunately, this probably some of these African countries are not necessarily giving us that respect, or we don't actually deserve that respect. We think we actually deserve. But again, we need to ask more questions around what really led to that arrest. But again, kudos to Madam Abike Dabiri. I think she swung into action, and then they were able to they were released. The arrest of Naira Marley has been, of course, obviously notorious for the wrong reasons and all that. And not forgetting Funke Akindele and her husband too were
Yes, yes.
actually prosecuted for violating COVID-19 protocols. Again, this goes to the fact that there are role models that should be leading by example, telling, doing the right thing. These people are called influencers, and they have a lot of followers. They should be leading by examples, really. Again, there are complaints that even after the arrest of Funke Akindele and her husband for violating COVID protocols, there are other high-profile personalities that also violated the protocols,
Of
but
course.
nothing actually happened to them. But uh, again, something new that was introduced in the entertainment industry is the fact that an artist can be in a studio alone and perform while being on either Facebook Live, YouTube Live,
Yeah.
Instagram Live, and then
So
people tune in, and then it's a new trend, and it's a good innovation. Just that again, probably the money they get for shows, tickets and all that might not be forthcoming if this is sustained. But of course, the new innovation. I see MI and Neto C actually did a rap battle online on Instagram. People actually tune in and watch. It was trending on Twitter. Is initially this usually done physically on stage where people
yes.
come and all that, but the entertainment industry also evolved
Hmm.
with a lot of things with virtual activities. Same with sports. The FIFA award was also done virtually where people tune in online and watch an award were presented. So again, like I said at the beginning, the COVID-19 came with a lot of negatives, but also gave us opportunity to innovate and introduce new things and how things
Everyone's
can be
going
done
virtual
better,
now.
and this can be
Well, that is a
sustained
good
really.
thing we can take out of 2020, I presume.
Yeah.
But speaking about Big Brother Nigeria, I wonder, are you a fan of that show? But this year
I
alone, the
watched it.
votes recorded was the highest with 900 million votes this year. And I would like to know if you're a fan, who is your favorite housemate? Who was your favorite housemate? And then why do you think the show is now becoming so popular, or has become so popular this for Nigerian youths, especially this year of the lockdown?
Okay, I have two favorite housemates.
Let's know.
I loved Kid Wire and I loved Nengi. And
Oh, Kid Wire. Thank you.
yes, I love
If you
Nengi and I
love Kid
love
Wire, you're not supposed to be loving Erica too.
Erica. I understand. I know. I mean, I don't have anything against Erica, but I love Nengi's personality. I like how she carries herself.
Mm,
So that's what I
yeah.
like about Nengi, and I also like Kid
Okay.
Wire. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I I think that this year they got more views and votes because I mean so many people were idle, a lot of people lost their jobs, people were
Mm,
depressed, people just wanted to make themselves happy, people just wanted to find a way to make like make themselves happy, unwind. I mean, you cannot go to any joint and hang out, everywhere was closed because of the lockdown, so and things started easing off in faces, so I mean, Big Brother Nigeria would just be the best thing to entertain you in the comfort of your home, and even if you're not watching it before, you just get
we
involved
needed
and
that
just
escape. That
learn whatever.
escape.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So that's why I
Mm.
think, yeah, Big
All right,
Brother
but
has.
going into 2021, what are your expectations for Nigeria? In a few sentences, you can just make that first. Say that.
My expectation
As
from
we round up,
Nigeria.
what are your expectations for Nigeria? Yes, for 2021.
Oh, I'm expecting that there should be more. I'm expecting organizations to take, their social responsibility more seriously, because
Okay.
I think that that's something that so many organizations take for granted. They work, they have a lot of profits, but their social responsibility is not good enough, and it looks like civil society organizations have to depend on international, funding, so I think they should also see how they can support the welfare of citizens of Nigeria, because I also noticed that they are more interested in advertising themselves and sponsoring programs like Big Brother Nigeria, but they
Okay. She's frozen. But Mr. Bashir, what are your expectations for Nigeria going into the year 2021?
Yeah, in few words, I'll just say the passage of the Electoral Act. There was a public hearing in early December, and we were promised that first quarter of 2021 we'll have a new Electoral Act. I think that would help to plug all the loopholes in our
Mm,
elections, and those are some of the things that would encourage people to now get registered and participate in the process. Young people and Nigerians generally need to start getting involved. We need to have higher voter turnout. There are a lot of issues that usually contribute to low voter turnout. But I think if we have a new electoral act, and of course being assented to by the president as soon as we can, people will get encouraged to get registered and participate in the process, and hopefully they can elect a leader they can actually trust, a leader that will take responsibility, that will be very empathetic, especially in a period like this. So I'm looking forward to the passage of the Electoral Act, and I hope it can shape other political activities going into 2021.
mhm. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Moshood Issa. He is a communications expert and a credible election advocate. Thank you for your thoughts today as we look at the events that shaped 2020. Yes, for Nigerians. And also to you, Mrs. Wanda Ebe, right? Wanda
yes.
Ebe, who is a philanthropist. I think I've won today. I've won something from you. All of your ideas and thoughts are so welcome. Thank you so much for coming today on Youth Assembly.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we also thank our guests who were here earlier, Adelani Adepeba, who is a journalist, and Barrister Victor Giwa, a lawyer. We hope you have a fantastic end of year. And thank you so much for January, for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and for December. I mean, your presence here actually shaped Click Niger, and we are grateful for it. Have a fantastic 30th of December, and we hope to see you on Monday Monday is yes, we'll have the first edition of the new year for Youth Assembly. So we'll see you then, and stay safe. Okay, take care of yourself, everyone.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Yeah, bye.
Mm.